I came to New York City.
I guess this is based on your journey.
Some of this I don't have the answers to.
That's just one of many stops, you know.
I don't care that I don't fit in here.
So we hopped around the U.S. to different cities.
Would you like to come to New York?
I'm not crying. Hello, my name is Patricia Lannes. I was born and raised in Uruguay in South America. Lived there until I got married, then moved to Argentina. I lived in Buenos Aires for 2 years and then came to the US. I was born in Montevideo and left Montevideo for the first time in my life when I got married, and I moved to Buenos Aires, to Argentina. That's a very short distance if you think about it. It's and actually that move, you know, if you think about migration, Uruguay. My father was Argentinian. He moved to Uruguay in Perón's time. Like and my husband is Argentinian. So it's like there's a lot of fluidity between the two societies and the two countries. Airplane, half an hour ride. And you can take a car and cross on a ferry, or now there's a bridge, but it's an expensive airfare, and going to Buenos Aires was like going to Paris. You know, it was like the big thing. You would go to Buenos Aires. It was a big deal. It's a big city. You know, it's like coming from another place to New York City. There's the light, the noise, the excitement, the theater. You know, the number of things that you can do also. And it's a very different society. So that was a shift and a change, but it was still the same language. I had my family that could come and go. You know, my in-laws were very embracing, so it was like there wasn't that much change. It's easy to, it's like the same type of culture in a way, although, you know, there's lots of, but it's like saying, you know, you move to Canada from the States, you know, there are differences, but it's not like you're moving to Asia. I never felt an immigrant. You know, I felt like I was a stranger in many ways. I didn't have friends. You know, I had to cultivate friendships. But it was the same language, the same culture in many ways. Moving to the US was a different story. It was a totally like a culture shock and language shock and all sorts of shocks. You know, it was like a very different kind of situation. We were living at that time in a military regime in Uruguay and in Argentina. But in Argentina, they declared La Guerra de las Malvinas, or the Falkland Wars, when we were living there in 1982, I think it was. And yeah, I think. And it was something that, as a Uruguayan, you know, I couldn't conceive that we were having a war, and that I was listening to the Uruguayan radio just because, you know, that was my source of information, and the channels of information were very different. So there, in that sense, that was something that wasn't you know, it wasn't easy because I couldn't believe, you know, that the whole country was going to a war, and I couldn't understand why they were doing it. And as a foreigner, you know, many times you're detached, and I was saying, okay, you know, the government is not functioning, so they need something new to keep on being in the government. So it became like, and that's when we decided to come to the U.S. We said, you know what, with my husband, we're just married, and we said, oh, let's go and try something else. Let's go and study abroad, and we came to Philadelphia. We moved to Philadelphia. So we hopped around the U.S. to different cities, and then we went back, and then we came back again. It was a very uncomfortable situation, and I also had, you know, we both had the illusion of coming to the U.S., to a democratic society where you could come and study whatever you wanted, do whatever you want, be whoever you wanted. You know, that sense of the freedom that you would see in movies. You know, then you come and you say, oh, perhaps, you know, it's not as we thought it was, but it was that the opportunity of studying in a country that was, you had access to sources of information was a very important thing for us. Philadelphia first, and then Miami. And that's when I became an ESL student. I took English classes. I knew some English, but I pretended that I could go and study graduate courses, and then you got in and it's like, oh, I don't think I can do it. So I took classes. I took English classes, and in an ESL program in the university, and then we moved to Miami. Lived in Miami for, I would say, 4 years or so, and then went to Argentina, and then we came back to the US. And when we came back to the US, it was, okay, for our children, it will be easier. We thought it would be easier to be in the US. So we said, it's better if we become the immigrants and they are not the immigrants. So the earlier we move, the better it will be for them. Because we knew it was hard to be an immigrant. It's not an easy task. And you're going to leave behind too many things that you love. And it's like, when you leave all that, what are you gaining? So it was like, okay, well, we are the adults, we'll lose more, and we'll give them more. So that was we wanted to do things legally, and to be able to get a job, you had to have a visa. So there weren't that many places that would give you a visa a job without a visa. And there was a company that agreed to sponsor my husband. So that's why, Miami was the destination. Miami we went, and it was great. It was fine. It was a good moment, with little kids, summer, sun. That's nice. Children were born in Miami, 2 of them. And then we moved to Buenos Aires, and the little one, who's the most American, is the one that was, born in Argentina, and the Argentinian one. And when we came back, we decided to come to New York. What I didn't realize then, and I knew that it was a major challenge, but it was like 3 kids, no family, no friends, nobody to count on any sort of help. So, and the place that my husband found a job was in Long Island. So we landed in life takes you to places that we didn't even know that Long Island existed. And we landed there, and so we raised the kids there. But then when I came to New York, I've been a museum addict all my life and an art lover. And it has driven, it's what makes me really love life. I see life and I see nature and I see everything through art. I see first the art, and then I say, oh, then I'm outside and I say, that's like a painting of so-and-so. So it's like, it's the other way around, which is, for some people it's a surprise. For me, it's like I would have never seen a sky if I hadn't seen the Rubens skies, with those lights coming in through. So it was like, yeah. And when we moved to New York, it was the summer. The schools didn't start until September 5 or 6 or something like that. And with the 3 kids, I didn't know that, and very, very unresourceful, I would say, of myself, but I didn't realize, that there were public beaches that you could go. And I said, okay, we cannot go to the beach, we'll go to museums. So it was the best treat of my life, because it was 2 months just coming to the city every single day, or not every day, but nearly every day with the kids. And I felt that was my sacred space, my safe space, it was our space. So when the first shift that happened with me was going to, how do you make museums accessible for children? Because being like a museum lover, it was, okay, I have 3 kids, I want them to be able to like museums, and I want to be able to go, and not to say I have to find a babysitter to go. So then I started exploring, how do you do museums with children? And then from there, I started working in museums in New York. And from there, working in museums with teachers, and doing a lot of professional development for teachers, and playing with the idea that not each time, but many times when students whose first language was not English would come into the museum, teachers were surprised and would tell me, I can't believe so-and-so can say that or is saying that. And it was like, why wouldn't he or why wouldn't she? And it was because, and then I started exploring the relationship between image and text. And what was it that would allow you? Why did you have that connection? You know, why was the kid being able to say that when he wasn't being able to say that in school? So what was the art, you know, what kind of connection, intellectual connection, but emotional connection was happening? And what about the space that was creating that possibility of just speaking? You know, it was that. First of all, it was, you know, and then, of course, many years later, I've developed lots of programming for immigrants and for English language learners and connect image and text and develop language. But then it's much more than that also, you know, it's about inclusion, it's about cultural capital. But the thing was, when you're looking at art, you're looking at art in the language that you're most comfortable with. You know, you're thinking, and the thinking is happening in your native language. So you can access very higher order thinking skills. And then it's like, okay, yeah, it's coming in, it's processing, how does it come out? So it's like you as a teacher, as a museum educator, how do you make that happen so that people can, and the other thing that happens is because you get so, you know, people are, you know, art is emotional and it's powerful, so it touches emotions and people get, and they forget that if it's on the beach, in the beach, at the beach, you know what? Beach, you know, it's like, and then it becomes like the communication happens. And then people can feel, and also the other thing is like if you have the luxury of having somebody who asks you open-ended questions when they're facilitating a discussion, you can bring your own story. So all of a sudden, I would see in the museum, you know, like the kid who was like nobody considered, all of a sudden we had an exhibition on Botero, and the kid knew more than anybody else, oh, those are not buitres, they are, you know, whatever they were, because it was background knowledge that allowed them to, you know, be like an expert in a way. So it gives you that opportunity. And it also, one thing, it happened with a very young kid who had just arrived from Central America, and he chooses a painting, an European painting of the Rotterdam harbor, and you're thinking, and because I would give him, you know, what do we do next? He chooses that, and I'm thinking, you know, why that? So I asked him, why that? And in Spanish, and the kid says, it reminds me of home. It's warm. There's sun, you know, because it was winter in New York, and it was cold, and it was like, so it was like those, triggering those memories. And as an immigrant, and I think that that's a connection, and that's for me, you know, some people are more sentimental than others. Some just cut and say, okay, you know, past is past and present is present. For me, it's very important to tie to the memories. When you're an immigrant, there's lots of loss, all sorts of loss. Even if you're, you know, forget if you're a refugee, but if you're an immigrant, you know, who decides to move and change and go somewhere else, there's lots of loss. So it's like, how do you connect to those moments of, or those things that you're losing, you know, or that you lost, is very important. And art can allow you to that.